you very much, and good afternoon to everyone who are listening to Von Radio at this time. Welcome to another edition of On Point for today, 16th day of June 2023. And of course, we normally would shout up all of the persons who are listening to Von Radio, because Von Radio is a widely listened to radio station. We said it is the most powerful radio station in the region in terms of its reach and its impact on the listening public here in the region and throughout the world. So I want to shout up all of the good folks here in Nevis who are listening, all of the good folks there in St. Kitts, here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Statia, St. Martin, French and Dutch, that is. Also the British and US Virgin Islands. Of course, we have persons throughout the United States, the East Coast all the way over to the West Coast of the United States. And of course, I missed out on Canada last week. So someone called me and told me that I didn't mention Canada because they're now listening as well. Of course, the whole of Europe, England, there are folks in England who have tuned into the show as well. And we welcome one and all, even in Asia, those who are up and about at this time. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. So there are some who are coming from fete and parties and maybe a night out, and perhaps tuning on their smart devices. So I say welcome one and all. It is good to be here again another Friday afternoon, and I have said in the past that it is my immense pleasure to come here on a Friday afternoon and spend my lunch hour with you. I do so because I prefer to spend my time here than to be eating something at this time. So let us talk and then perhaps eat thereafter. But it's good to be here. This show, of course, it's a new show, just a few weeks old. And we intend to be here every Friday, sorry. Every Friday at 1 p.m. And I am absolutely certain once God gives me strength, I will come, because I want to spend quality time with the people of Nevis and the listeners of Von Radio. That being said, of course, normally at this point in the show, we'll acknowledge those who are celebrating. Of course, earlier this week, my good friend there, Lalbo Jones, celebrated his birthday. And, persons like Lalbo would celebrate the entire week and beyond, so I'm sure he's still celebrating. Good afternoon to you, Lalbo. And I think I heard this morning on Von Radio that a former teammate of mine, we played cricket together with the Highlights Cricket Club. That is Elroy, David, not Jimbo. This is Tokup, sorry. Jimbo, I would have spanked him all around Grove Park in the past as a fast bowler. That's what he is. But Jimbo, I hope you're doing well. I heard you had some issues and difficulties, and hopefully you're coming around and recovering. But I want to say to Earl David, that is Tokup, I hope you're having a wonderful day today on your birthday. And of course, over in the St. James area, Butlers to be exact, I think I heard that Shauna Atherton is celebrating today. Happy birthday to you, Shauna. And of course, I'll probably pass by, if not later or tomorrow or something, just to say hello to you. So those who are celebrating, continue to have fun. And I want you to enjoy this birthday as if it is the last one, because we don't know these days. I'm not saying anything about these persons who are celebrating, but generally speaking, you just have to enjoy every day and every moment of the day, because that is what life is like these days. Those who are at the Alexandria Hospital, I want to say, get well soon. And of course, we want you to be up and about to make your contribution to the development of the island of Nevis. So get well soon. Indeed, on Sunday is Father's Day. And those of us who are fathers will probably get a call or a hug or maybe a gift. But Father's Day is Sunday. That would be the 18th day of June. And with respect to Father's Day, my understanding is that Father's Day started somewhere around in 1910. The 19th day of June, 1910. That's some history. Indeed, these days have become so commercialized, so someone introduced it, and it has been capitalized on since then. I do believe Father's Day is every day anyway, because you have to play the role of a father or dad every single day. So for those of you who would wake up with your dad in the same house on Sunday, hug your dad and say, Dad, you're the best role model that I can ever have, and I want to be just like you when I become older, or as I grow up, I want to be just like you. and indeed your father, your guardian, parent, whatever you want to term that person as, they will be immensely proud and thankful for that and show the gratitude as usual. So pamper your dad on that day. I was reading something the other day, and it says that only 50% of the Father's Day cards are normally sold for Father's Day. That says something. But almost 100% of the Mother's Day cards are sold. But then mothers normally have a special place in our hearts, and indeed all of us are equally as important, because parenting should be shared by both parents. But fathers, irrespective of what, continue to be the role model, a good role model for your children. Whether you get the thanks or the gratitude, it doesn't matter. You have that role to play, because ultimately the impact you will have on your children can certainly determine the future of our beloved island and our communities and our societies and our country and our world. So you have a significant role to play in that regard. So celebrate in style and just be there for your dad or your father on Sunday. Indeed, climate change is something that is always on our lips and in our conversation. And indeed, we know climate change have brought about certain devastating impact. One such thing is our natural disasters that we face from time to time. And every time around this time of the year, from the 1st of June to the 30th of November, we face challenges and we become uneasy and uncertain about the future, so to speak, as to what the next day would be like, or the next week, or the next couple of months. Indeed, we are in the hurricane season and things are challenging right now, yes, in terms of a current drought situation. But I am seeing there is a tropical disturbance coming off of the African coast, the west coast of Africa, and headed in our region, or to our region. I am to hope that whatever it does turn out to be, we will be able to withstand that. But I am hoping that we get no more than some good showers of rain that we are looking for at this point in time. It appears that sometime next week there might be a 40 to 60% chance of it developing into something. I am hoping that it doesn't turn out to be a hurricane, but a tropical wave, tropical storm, whatever the case might be, something that we can withstand would be much appreciated, because it will bring us some rain that is needed at this time. So climate change, of course, is real, and those who think differently, I say, well, everyone can hold an opinion. But when you look at the data, the scientific data, things are happening so rapid these days. Never used to be like this in the past, because things that used to take decades upon decades to happen, it's happening in 1 decade now, or in just a few years. So it therefore means that we are seeing things happening much quicker. Hurricanes are becoming more intense. I did mention last week or the week before, for example, in 2017, what happened down there in Dominica. Over a short period of time, a hurricane would have intensified from a category 1 or 2 up to a category 5. So it therefore means that things are happening much quicker these days. So it begs us to keep focused, stay focused, and understand that things can change in a heartbeat, and we must be prepared accordingly. So I believe once we are prepared, though, we certainly can see us through these difficult times that are ahead of us. But rain is what we need. And indeed, the current dry situation or drought situation is one that is pretty much being experienced by all of the neighboring islands. And the bulletins that we have seen suggest that it will be this way for a few more months. Indeed, while we are experiencing dry conditions here in St. Kitts and Nevis, for example, Antigua, Montserrat, and the neighboring islands, places like Trinidad would have had some rain earlier this week, significant rain. Across the United States, you see different weather patterns as well. You have tornadoes in the Midwest. You have rain in certain parts of the northeast. You have sun, hot sun, that is, in places like Florida. And of course, in the west, the weather conditions fluctuate as well too. So all over the world, we are receiving fluctuating conditions. So we just have to adjust accordingly, because indeed, if we had our own say, then many of us will have weather systems and conditions that we desire. But the good Lord will send us rain when the time is due. And of course, I want to ask all of our praying persons out there. There are some people who pray righteously, and I say to pray for some rain. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with praying for rain, because there's some who think that we are making up an excuse about these weather conditions and how we are sitting waiting and praying for rain. Well, we have to pray. Everything we pray for, good and bad, but mostly good. But prayer are answered accordingly based on your request and based on the Lord's timing. The Lord will send us what we ask for or what we pray for. So I anticipate that in a matter of days, some of our prayers will be answered, and then we'll say, thank you, Jesus. Thanks for being an understanding God. Thanks for being a good God and one that answers prayer. Just by way of information, on Tuesday of next week, the Ministry and Department of Agriculture will have a groundbreaking ceremony up there at Prospect, just below the abattoir. There's a groundbreaking ceremony to start the construction of the building that will house those equipment that will be used for the poultry broiler project. We ordered those machinery some time ago. I believe it was just before the end of last year. So they are here now. And the intention is to build that particular facility to house the equipment, to slaughter, and also a piece of equipment that will cut the chicken in parts, leg quarters, wings, and so forth. So that is something to look forward to in terms of the groundbreaking ceremony. And eventually the construction of that building. And hopefully, I was asking Minister Evelyn what are his plans in terms of a time frame, and also the permanent secretary. And I'm hoping that before the end of this year, last quarter of this year, perhaps early next year, we should see the first batch of chicken being slaughtered and local chicken being placed on the market here in Nevis. I do believe that it will be a good thing when it's all said and done, meaning part of the mandate that these CARICOM countries have, coming from the heads of government meeting that was held, I believe, sometime in 2020 or 2021 thereabout, was that we'll cut the importation of certain agricultural products, including chicken, by at least 25% by the year 2025. There will be numerous opportunities available to our people to get into broiler production in terms of raising the birds, and then just like the model that is existing there at the abattoir, where you raise the bird and then you'll sell those birds to the agriculture department or to the government, so to speak, and then the slaughtering is done, and then the marketing and everything, packaging, marketing is done by the facility that will undertake such responsibility. That is something similar to what is happening currently at the abattoir, where our products such as, I say our because I'm talking like I'm still there, but when I say our, I'm talking like a division. Our products such as the ground beef, diced pork, and all those products that end up in the various supermarkets here on Nevis, labeled as being packaged here in Nevis, authentic products. That is what we want to accomplish with the broiler project that is about to start. And there are lots of persons who are anticipating this particular project in terms of making some money. There's money to be made in that those who have an existing job can also have this particular engagement to make additional money. So it will be something for everyone to get involved in. Hopefully the capacity will be there at the facility to handle all of the birds that would come through. My thinking is, it would be good to get to 10,000 or more birds per week at least coming into that facility. That will give us a chance to make somewhat of a dent in the importation of chicken here into the Federation. And this is a project that I believe is overdue, and one that I believe can be create that transformation in our lives here on the island of Nevis. I've always said anything that is produced here on the island of Nevis, at least we know how it is raised, how it is grown, how it is handled in terms of slaughtering and packaging. Grown here, packaged there, produced here, the whole works. We know about its authenticity. So that is why I am very much in favor of this particular project, and very much in favor of all people getting involved. Sorry. Very much in favor of all people getting involved, because the benefits are there to be derived, and I wish everyone would get on board. That being said, we look forward to that on Tuesday of next week. And I believe today there was the media launch of Culturama down there at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. I was unable to tune in or unable to attend, but of course I believe that was held this morning somewhere around 10 o'clock. So that is all said and done. We move into Culturama. There are quite a number of activities that are planned for the next couple of weeks leading up to Culturama, and then of course the Culturama big events will be here with us shortly by the end of July. But I believe this weekend there are some events. People who are versed at social media, who are always there, will see all of the activities that will be held. I know for sure there will be a Calypso tent up there at Old House Cafe on Sunday evening. You know, Calypso is my thing, so at least I know, I recall hearing that. So that is good. And then on Saturday, I believe there's some bar crawl or some event, but I will say listen up and hear what that is all about. So there are things that are happening here on the island of Nevis. Of course, some people would say, oh, nothing happening, or they will spread the most negative things about Nevis. Listen, Nevis is so nice. I can say it twice, 3 times, 4 times. I can say it up until the end of this show. There are challenges here on the island of Nevis, there's no doubt. I spoke about water just now. That is a challenge, and we'll come back to that. But there are good things happening. As a matter of fact, when you think about electricity, there have been challenges here on the island of Nevis in the past. But one thing I can tell you is that most times, nearly 100% of the time, when you flick your switch, electricity is there. There was a point in time when things were so difficult. They were up and down saying brap, 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 current gone, all kind of foolish jingles I used to hear. We inherited some difficulties, and the good thing about a government, once you're mandated to take care of the infrastructure, take care of the people of the island of Nevis. I'm talking Nevis now, but you can certainly apply it to any country or any island. But we are here to take care of the island of Nevis, and what we do is that we go about our business in terms of ensuring that we provide the level of comfort and security for our people. And that is why we invested heavily in Nevlec and electricity, to ensure that when you flick your switch, there is power. So we did our investment there. As a matter of fact, when people were crying out for the cost of or the burden of that fuel surcharge, your caring government, the Concerned Citizens Movement, would have taken on the burden of paying that fuel surcharge and ensuring that your electricity bills were brought down to a manageable level. I can certainly say from my standpoint, in the past, my electricity, prior to the fuel surcharge being removed, my electricity bill was almost $300. I believe last time I went to pay, it was somewhere around $140+. Well, I would have liked to give the government some more, but that is what they told me my bill is, and I love going to pay my bills there. I go in the line every end of the month, and I go in and I write my check and pay my bills, because the Bible speaks about paying your taxes and so forth. Not like some who believe that they owe nothing even though they owe, and they pay nothing even though they owe, and then when they have nothing, they just up and down saying nothing happening, nothing this, nothing, 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 because they don't see themselves as persons who will be paying their bills, because they feel like they owe nothing to the institutions that they would have credited things from. But I want to encourage all those who owe Nevlec, who owe the water department, who owe whatever utility you're consuming, go and pay, because those are the revenues that are needed to ensure that we keep these infrastructure up to date and keep the lights burning, water flowing, and the likes. I touched on the water again. I come back to water full circle, and I know why I did so, because we've always been talking about water in this island for years, and in recent times, recent weeks, the conversation about water has been there. And of course, things are challenging, things are difficult. I will say to you from my standpoint, I have a cistern, and many persons out there have cisterns as well. But you know what? Even though I have a cistern, one of the things that I do every morning when I get out of bed is, you know, these gallon bottles? I sometimes fill some of those, because I will say to you that my cistern isn't connected yet to my house, but the cistern is there, and I have water, of course, yes, but there are times when I fill these gallon bottles and I have them there in a corner, and I say, well, if water goes out, then I have a bottle of water to do something. And there's a couple of gallons, maybe about 4 or 5 gallon bottles. I'm saying all this to tell all of us that at this point in time, all of us will have to make adjustments in our lives. This won't last forever, and I can guarantee you it will not last forever. But it is challenging at this time. But here's what is creating some of the challenge. One is that the 4 seasons that we depend on for significant revenue have been doing so good and so well over the last couple of months. This is one of the best seasons that they have had for a long time. So you have high percentage of guest occupancy, huge consumption of water, difficult weather patterns to deal with. So you understand there's a lot of strain on the system. But before I go any further, let me also say at this point in time, I want to congratulate all of the men and women who go out every night and early every morning to manage this resource so that we can have some water at least during the day or in the evening or whatever the point of time in the day. Because if someone has to get up to go and turn off the water at a given time in the evening or in the night, then they have to be back out again in the morning very early, because I know by 5 o'clock in some cases my water would come back. So it therefore means someone had to go at some point prior to 5 o'clock to turn that water on. So I want to commend them for their efforts and to ensure that they are managing the system as it is and the resources that are there so that it can be spread around the island in whatever proportion so that persons can have some water at least to use. There are countries and islands right now, and many will say Nevis is not them, and that is true, but there are countries that don't see water from a Tuesday or Monday until the Saturday morning or even another week thereafter. There are countries and islands right around us who haven't seen water for days. I don't think that is the case in Nevis. Yes, the management has been good in terms of ensuring that we get water at certain times during the day, but as I said before, and I am certain about this, that this won't last forever. There are a lot of things being done by the CCM government to ensure that other options are looked into. And I believe many of us would have heard the Premier mention that we did in 2017 engage BEAD, and we'll talk about BEAD some more just now. But we engaged BEAD in 2017, entered into a contract to develop 3 wells at a cost of 10 million EC dollars. BEAD started a well down there in New River. Whatever happened, that water, from my understanding, was not the quality that they wanted to get from that well, meaning it did not meet World Health standards. As they would say, it is not potable, or you couldn't drink it. It was the manganese content was very high. That being said, many of you who traverse that area would have seen generator, equipment, truck and the like in that area, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. They disappeared, and our $2 million would have disappeared too, because we haven't heard from BEAD since. But I believe that the Premier would have said that some legal steps have been taken to recover those monies. So we didn't get any well. We're out of our $2 million, but of course the contract was for them to produce 3 wells. Just produce them. and then we'll develop the wells accordingly. So that is an ongoing process that will be dealt with. Right now over in the Butler's area, there is some exploration work being done. I do believe that that has to do with the desalination plant that is being contemplated for that area. That is one of the desalination plant that was donated to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis by the UAE, that is the United Arab Emirate, and I want to thank the Premier and the team there at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who would have negotiated that some years ago. And people may say, so long you hear about these things, but these things don't happen overnight. And let's be real, any major project require a lot of steps to be taken in terms of, first of all, putting out for tender, getting the tenders in, reviewing them, selecting the company to undertake the project, and if that company is not going to undertake it directly, they then have to subcontract, find a subcontractor to take it on. So it's a long process, and many of us know, but we play ignorant to these facts. These are just facts, and who don't want to understand? Well, I say woe be unto you, because these are facts and these are the conditions that international companies will operate under, and as such we can't move forward until the time is right. And so there's some work being done. Of course, updates would come accordingly, but the water situation, as tough as it is, I say it will not last forever. It certainly will get fixed, but next week might very well be the starting point where we get some showers, and indeed that would eliminate some of the difficulties in terms of us having to water our gardens, having to wash our cars, having to water lawns, whatever the case might be. So that being said, it would give the system a chance to replenish, and so that we can get the water levels up accordingly. And those are just basic understanding of what the system is like and what will happen in situations like these. But ladies and gentlemen, last night I had a chance to listen. I was in a particular area and I listened to, the NRP show. I don't normally listen, but to be honest with you, I was there sitting, and there was a gentleman there with a smart device listening to the show on his, on his smartphone, whatever, iPhone or Samsung, whatever it is. And I said, let me lend a keen ear. And then the topic about water came up, and bead and the like, right? And I was just sitting down in a corner and I said, boy, I believe these people should leave bead out of the conversation. You know why? I look at bead and I sometimes interchange the word from bead to bleed. Bead to bleed. And why I say that is because the people of Nevis must understand what we got with this company. I am not here to castigate the company. They were given a contract for 10 years, and they, if I were them, I would have signed the contract too, because obviously someone would have facilitated them. But the people of Nevis must understand that we got a raw deal, a bad deal with that bid contract. And here's why. The gentleman who was on there, former minister, I don't like to call people name because I really don't get obsessed and carried away with people's name, because my name is called every day, and that's fine too. I don't care, because when we clap back sometimes, people get offended, because a certain gentleman who calls my name every day and every week, every month, the passion fruit farmer, I just passed the passion fruit orchard out there, whatever you want to call it, and Lord of mercy, the children brown, dead. And that is what he hold up as his claim to fame as a farmer. I am a passion fruit farmer, and the passion fruit, them all dead like a Wilkes. So when I hear those people talking and have no trophy to hold up, I really don't waste any time. But I could clap back, and I'll clap back from time to time, which means they'll come after me more. But let me tell you something, I really don't care. Because when I come here, I want to uphold the standards of Von Radio, and I want to bring the truth to the people. Here's the truth about bead. Some time ago, back in 2008 thereabout, there was this song and dance about some companies that would have submitted bids or tenders to the NIA to supply water to Nevis. And the gentleman who was there, the former minister, was talking about GE Ionics. He said GE Ionics submitted a proposal to supply Nevis with 8.4 million gallons of let's back up. 1 million gallon of water at $8.4 million. 1 million gallons of water per day at a contract price of $8.4 million. What that mean? They were going to develop these wells, supply Nevis with 1 million gallons at $8.4 million. Now that's it. Develop the wells, and that's what the wells would have produced: 1 million gallons per day at a cost to the people of Nevis of $8.4 million. Follow me. He called some names too, but I'm not calling nobody name. Let's stick with what he's saying. Consolidated Water. He said that company submitted a bid for $8.7 million to supply the same 1 million gallons. He also said Earth Water Global submitted a bid for $7.4 million to supply the same 1 million gallons per day. TSC, whoever that is, submitted a bid for about $5.9 million, same million gallons. Then he said Bede, a company that fella Isaac is connected to. They call his name. I can call Isaac name. Isaac is a businessman, so Isaac would do what a businessman would do. Get into business. So Bede, he said, will supply 1 million gallons per day at $2.4 million. He didn't say US or EC. I take it as US because companies are not going to come and talk EC, so I take it as US dollars. 2.4 million US dollars for 1 million gallons per day. Now, if you want to make it easy, let's say 2.4 million US is just about 6.4 million EC dollars. So 2.4 US equals 6.4 million EC dollars. 1 million gallons. Well, I will tell you they entered into a contract with Bede in 2008. That contract would have run for 10 years. So Bede was supposed to supply the people of Nevis with these two pumps at 6.4 million EC dollars, and those pumps were supposed to produce 1 million gallons of water per day. I want the people to follow, The way I understand it, once you develop those wells belong to the people of Nevis. You pay $6.4 million and you get your 2 wells that will supply you with 1 million gallons of water per day. Nowhere did I hear anybody say that these contracts, all of these contracts were contemplated to be for 10 years. For some reason, Bede end up with a contract for 10 years. 120 months. I want the people of Nevis to understand something. At no point in time over those 10 years that Bede pumps had any capacity to provide the people of Nevis with 1 million gallons of water per day. Never, and I can say never until the show is done. Never produce 1 million gallons of water per day. As a matter of fact, the well over there at Madden's, that was producing somewhere between 400 to 440 gallons per day. The well over in Fothergills was producing just a maximum, from the data that I saw, about 385,000 gallons per day. So you add the two together, you don't even get 800,000 gallons of water per day. But we were paying for 1 million gallons. I will go further and tell you there were some tanks here on the island of Nevis. I'm sure many of you would have seen them up there in Madden's. We just took down one over in Zetlands. There was one up at Fothergills, one up at Camps, and everywhere you saw these white tanks, there were some different panels fused together. There was some rubber bushings between those fused pieces, and more water was coming out than what the tank was holding. So we were pumping in water, and all the water was going down the gut. So we were paying for water, not getting the million gallons that we were supposed to get, but water was leaking out, wastage of water all up and down Nevis. What you see right now, those black tanks, those were put in, all of them, by the OCCM government. We took a mortgage of $30 million to upgrade the water network here in Nevis. So all these pipes you see going in up and down Nevis is your CCM government, the NIA, the Nevis Water Department, who are putting in those lines to deliver water from all areas on Nevis. As a matter of fact, let me say, right now as it is, water can leave right up there at Maddens and end up at Four Seasons, which is what is happening. They come from Maddens up to Camps. A booster pump would pump that water up to Spring Hill, and then it gravities right down into Four Seasons. And the other side of the island from Fort O'Gills, it goes up to Stony Hill, down into Zetlands, up into Burden Pasha, down into Cherry Garden, and all the way up into Hamilton and beyond. Even over to Four Seasons. The only section of Nevis right now that doesn't have that kind of connection is between Butlers and New River. And that will be done in short order. From what I know, there is no connection there. But practically the whole of Nevis is connected, and that has been done by the CCM. Every time you see a new road project being done, as in the case of over here at Uwali area, new pipes are put in. Whether water are in it or water is in it or not, new pipes are being placed in there so that when the time comes, you can activate those lines in terms of sending water through them. That is how a government should think. We're preparing for the future now. CCM is preparing for the future. NRP was not preparing for the future because, like I told you, they had some tanks here. No thing was done to upgrade in terms of holding that water that was coming from the so-called bead pumps. So when you look at Bede was making an average of $3.2 million a year out of the people of Nevis. All that Bede had was two little pumps, one up in Maddens, can't produce the 500,000 gallons as they should have. A little pump over there at Fort O'Gills couldn't produce the 500,000 gallons that they should have done per day to get that million, but they were collecting $3.2 million thereabout every single month for 120 months. Well, no, sorry, let's back up. Every year, sorry, let's get it right. Take your time. $3.2 million per year for a total of 10 years. So if my maths is right, Bede ended up with over $30 million out of a contract that they claim should have been 6.4 million EC dollars to produce two wells. Meanwhile, Bede never run a pipe around the island of Nevis, you know. You hear me just say all the pipes that were run around the island of Nevis, that were put on the ground here in Nevis, were done by the NIA. All the infrastructure, the tanks, the pipes, everything was done by the NIA. All that Bede had was two pumps. Should have been paid $6.4 million and tell you thank you. But instead they were given a contract that amounted to well over $30 million over the 10 years, EC dollars. These are the things they won't tell you. Not only that, but here the worst part of it now. In 2012, whatever appeared then or happened then, it seemed like Bede wasn't making enough money, I don't know. They started bawling, said the electricity prices are too high. So you know what? The NRP sat down with them, and renegotiated the contract. And what they did, the price per gallon then, 1,000 gallon then, was $2.50 US. They reduced it to $1.85 and throw the cost of electricity on the backs of the people of Nevis. So they reduced it to let's say, from what my calculation is, $1.85. Let me see what that equals to. Just about $5. Just about $5 EC. They reduced it to that per 1,000 gallon, and then told the people of Nevis, well, you pay the electricity. So, you know, when I left as the Minister of Communication and Works in 2017, because we had some changes at that time, I was getting the reports from Nevlec. Those pumps had accumulated arrears in 2017 of just about $7.5 million. Arrears. Those are monies that the people of Nevis would have to eat someday, and we're eating it too, because Bede will never pay it. Not only that, the contract went on until 2018 for another 2 point something million. So in essence, I can tell you that when BEAD contract ended, their electricity bill that the people of Nevis was asked to pay as of 2012 amounted to just about $10 million. So you add that $10 million to the 32 plus million dollars and you see exactly what BEAD walked away with. So you ask yourself about the difficulty with water. If we had that $30 million, for example, to pump into water here in Nevis, you could imagine what we could have had. We tried to engage BEAD in 2017, like I said, for an additional 3 wells at $10 million. We were taking the right steps. And people may ask, well, why did you get engaged with BEAD again? But they were here in the Federation doing some drilling down there in St. Kitts. I believe is in the Shadwell area. In the Shadwell area, yes. So they were here in the Federation. We figure, well, they have been at it, so they should know. But we didn't know we would have been holding an empty bag at this point in time. But there are some plans afoot, because once we get a few things in place, we'll be doing some more drilling. Can't speak definitively at this point in time, but the government is working. The government is continuing to pursue the fact that we understand that climatic conditions are changing. Climate change is for real, and we have to do the necessary things to mitigate the impact of some of these difficulties. Water is essential, of course. Water is life, of course. And for that reason, that is why we would have engaged the Caribbean Development Bank. And the NRP will say they were the one who started it, you know. Well, that's okay. Take the credit for it. But we have run with it and have executed that project. But when you say you were the one who did it, I want you to tell me what became of the $70+ million that were derived from the sale of those lands down there at Pennies, meaning the 600 acres that were sold to Newfound, that amounted to just over $58 million EC when we collected those monies. And then all of the lands that were sold up at Nugent Heights and Nugent Village, that was left behind for you. All of that, and you sold all. So I want to know what has become of that, and then why you didn't pay the people in Trinidad for their lands or pay the mortgage for those lands. We still have to pay it now. We still have to pay that $10 million US. When I left there as the Minister of Lands, I think we were down to 2 point something million US. I believe in paying bills. So when you take credit for certain things, right, take credit for all. Because you'll have to answer me someday, or answer the people as to where that money would have disappeared to and why you'd have taken $10 million that was supposed to pay off that mortgage and never paid it, and have people down there can't even get the title up until now. But that is for another conversation, because we have many times to come back, and there'll be a conversation as we come. But this thing about water, when B didn't lay one pipe in Nevis, walk away with well over $30 million on a 10-year contract. Monies that could have been plowed back into the upgrade and the expansion of the network here in Nevis. We had to go to the CDB to borrow $30 million to upgrade the network here in Nevis. And then you start blaming CCM, but we don't take the blame, we are the government. But let us be honest. And that's why sometimes when they talk so much, you know, you realize the tangle web that they were weaving, you know. Oh, what a tangle web we weave. When at first you attempt to deceive. Deceiving people for years. I always tell people that the NRP is 33% facts, 33% omission, and 33% lies. The additional 1%, if you add it on to all those categories, you'll never come up to a 100% truth. Because omissions, lies, some facts, but when it's all said and done, doesn't amount to anything truthful. And that's what the NRP has done to the island of Nevis over the years. Because everything sounds like a song and dance to them, you know. Something to Mama Guy. They're pointing fingers at the CCM about geothermal. Well, they had a big song and dance down in Charlestown one year. Say they have the christening of the geothermal. Baby no born yet, but they start to christen. I'm just reminding people of these things, you know. It may not sound too good to some of you, but I'm going to tell you, these things are what has brought us to where we are. A country don't just develop overnight by forgetting about its past, The past determines the future. Because I spoke about climate change. Climate change is real. We are experiencing climate change now. And what we do now can impact us into the future. And that is why we're going to search for more water. That is why we're pursuing desalination to ensure that we can get additional water in the system. And we'll continue to do what we are mandated to do by the people. And I want the people of Nevis, listen, don't always take what we say. Questions can be asked. Because sometimes some of these things sound so truthful that you'll run away with it and say it's the gospel. But here at Von Radio, I can say for sure that Von Radio, anything that emanates from these microphones, will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So when you hear the NRP talking, ask them what has become. Or why did they? Just ask them. Why did they engage BEAD on a 10-year contract and pay them in excess of $30 million over 10 years? An average of $3.2 million per year. When they never, ever produce 1 million gallons of water per day. So you throw up this smoke screen about all of these companies that put in proposal. Listen, proposal comes to our desk as ministers when I was there, and even ministers now. Many proposals. I have seen many of them come to the cabinet from time to time. But the bottom line is you don't have to act on none. The next thing is whatever you act on must have the best interest of the people of Nevis at heart. And when the people look back on these contracts, on these agreements, they must be able to see where the government of the day would have acted appropriately and in their favor. But I want the people of Nevis to tell me if it is right for us to have paid over $30 million for 2 pumps. 2 pumps. That is what you paid for. 2 pumps. And I'm going to tell you something else to people of Nevis. There was a point in time one of the pumps broke down at Madden's. And you know where the pump came from? A borrowed pump came from St. Kitts. And BEAD was still being paid. A borrowed pump. If St. Kitts know about that, they'll ask for the rental money. I just said it, but that's in the past, and I hope they'll just throw water on that and move on, because both entities have had a chance to exchange equipment and other things. But 2 pumps came. 2 pumps were installed. None of them could have produced anything close to 1 million gallons per day. And then you fast forward to up at Hamilton. A well was dug up there, And something reminds me that every well that BEAD would have dug, those at Madden and the one at Fothergills were in close proximity to wells that were existing. We were saying back then, and I very well believe, that those wells were dug in water tables that we already were receiving water from. Here's why I say that. The well up at Madden's going up by the prison farm, that is sitting in a water table that stretches from down at Powell's all the way up to Madden's. So the water was good. We got good water. Still getting good water. Same thing at Fothergills. But then you go up to Hamilton now and dig a new well up there. The manganese level was so high, couldn't be put in the system. So what happened? BEAD said to the NIA, we'll develop the well. But the government of the day, the NIA under the NRP, would have to buy a filtration system valued at $200,000 to filter out the manganese. Once they do that, then BEAD will take 80% of that particular well, the revenue from that well, to pay down Nevlec. That was the deal. It's right here. It's right here on my computer. 80% of the revenue from that well would go towards paying down Nevlec, that bill that was mounting up there, that they left behind. And NRP didn't do it. We sat in cabinet and we looked at it. We sought to find the finances. By that time, it was up to $250,000 US thereabout. I stand corrected. But we bought the device or the mechanism, the equipment or the filtration system, whatever you want to call it, to filter out the manganese to make the water potable or drinkable or meet World Health standards. So that water is now in the system. And I believe that well is producing over 250,000 gallons per day. Whatever it's producing has made the water situation here in Nevis much better. In that the people of Hamilton in the past were crying. You hear them say nothing used to be such here in Nevis? Hamilton have been crying out for water for many, many years. Then we got a brand new tank up there. We got the filtration system in place. We've been able to put that water into the system to feed Charlestown and its surroundings. There was a time Cherry Garden was bawling over there. There's some difficult situations now, there's no doubt. But it's much better than what it once was. And like I said, it won't last forever. Because there will come a time when all these challenges will be overcome. But that same well up that Hamilton, the CCM-led NIA, would have been the one who went and bought the machinery or the filtration system to filter the manganese out of that water so that it can be placed into the system for consumption by the people of Nevis. That is your government at work. But you remember what Bede said? Buy the apparatus or buy the filtration system, install it, and then once the well is up and running, they'll use 80% of the revenue from that well to pay down Nevlec. That is what the NRP was dealing with then. All these things can't have the best interest of Nevis people at heart. So all they know is about water, which reminds me, last night, the host of the show, the former junior minister, asked Janice, you ever hear these figures here? The figures from the contracts that, or the proposal that came in. GE Ionics, Consolidated Water, et al. You ever hear these figures? Janice said no. Well, I know why Janice never heard them, because Janice was fast asleep for 20 years up there in Round Hill. Not even paying attention. She didn't even know whether the sun was rising in the west and going to the east. All I know, you rise in the east in St. James and go to the west. But listen, it might sound like a knock in Janice, but listen, I have to, because when people come before you and pull a wool over your eyes, for the time the wool is lifted, then you know exactly what would have transpired, because a lot of you over there in St. James, my beloved St. James, are now regretting what you would have done back in December of last year. I am still here, and I'll take all questions, I'll take all calls, because my phone number has never changed. Never ever changed. From since 2013, I have had one number, 6625007. I never believe in carrying two phones. So I have the same number. Those who want to change a number and abandon the people of St. James is up to them. But the people of St. James are still near and dear to me. I don't have one soul to say anything bad about. But I continue to press on in this island, because Nevis as an island is all that I have. I love this island. And I love the people of Nevis in general, all around Nevis. Well, some don't get along with me. That's okay too. I love all of you still. But the point is, this island, Nevis, is so nice that, as I said before, I go say it until the end of the program. So whatever we have here on Nevis, let us enjoy it. Let us understand there are many who envy us for what we have. But this island is such a beauty. And when we get up in the morning and you see the sunrise here on the island of Nevis, understand that you're on the most beautiful island in the Caribbean and by extension the world. Beautiful place. You see, we try to stay positive around here. When people bring negativity, like they want to burn down the whole of Nevis, and when they can't rebuild it, I am not in that with anyone. Because these microphones are powerful microphones, and the whole world is listening to us. So when you call down the island of Nevis and make it sound that Nevis is the worst thing out there, when you live here and experience the best of this island, you can't be genuine and you can't be factual. So come again. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're running out of time here shortly. I said I'm going to come for an hour. The station hasn't given me any extra time around here. So I want to say to you that it is always a pleasure coming. There are a few minutes left. But I want to say that Sunday, of course, like I said, is Father's Day. Go on out and enjoy Father's Day. Have the best day ever. And also keep in mind, while you're having a good time, just be safe about everything that you do and every engagement that you get involved in. Because we want to make sure that you are around to continue the development of this island. So I want to also say that coming up at the end of this month as well, we have mango festival. There's some challenges with mango these days because there's a new crop of mango out there, but they're green. So I'm hoping by the time the end of the month comes, we'll have some mangoes to savor with the festival as well. And indeed, on the Friday, the first day, we're going down to Indian Castle by that fruit orchard. Marvelous development down there that is all geared towards food security and sustainability here on the island of Nevis. No matter what is said and done, we have placed some energies and effort into ensuring that Indian Castle becomes a model. And you know, Nevis have provided a lot of models in the past, and this is one such thing that people look at. I believe I heard Minister Evelyn say that when he met with Mr. Greg Rollins, who is the regional representative for ICA, he said that Nevis is leading the way in greenhouse technology. That didn't happen overnight. I said when I was there as the minister, we are now at about 30 plus greenhouses on Nevis, and the intention was to get up to 50 over the next couple of years, and I am hoping that Minister Evelyn will pursue that. I know he have the temperament and the tenacity to do so, because we need to ensure that there are certain areas that we are where we have some strength. We would want to turn those into some good things here on the island of Nevis, and greenhouse technology is one. That fruit orchard can be a good revenue earner for us, and of course the broiler poultry project that we are about to initiate, that can make a difference in the lives of our people here on the island of Nevis. Nevis is on the right track. We are on the right track. We're heading in the right direction, and that is upward and onwards. And I want the people of Nevis to continue to press on in terms of making sure that your contribution is felt. I know things may be difficult for some. There's a saying, tough times don't last. Well, tough times don't last, but tough people do. I think that is what it is. Yeah, so we are all tenacious people here. We can press on to higher heights and better things. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're just about out of time. Someone was asking me if this program is rebroadcast. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page. And then, of course, if someone wants to sponsor a rebroadcast, I'll be more than happy. And I'm sure the station will be glad for the revenue as well, too, if there is a rebroadcast on a given day. But that is it for today. It is just about 2 p.m. And, of course, we're just here for 1 hour. My lunchtime is done. It's time to go back to do some work now, as I've always done, because I love working, so I'll continue to work. It was indeed my pleasure being here today, and before I wrap up, let me just say Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers, all of the dads, all of the guardians, parents out there who play a father role in our young men and young women. And I want you to continue to do what is good and what is right by our young people. Make sure that you're bringing them up in the right way, and they're walking, as my grandmother used to say, walking in the straight and narrow, because that is what will make the difference in this island. Ladies and gentlemen, my time is up, just about 2 o'clock, and it's time to get out of here. Thank you for listening. It was indeed my pleasure, and we'll be back, God's willing, next Friday, 1 p.m., so that I can spend another hour of my lunchtime with you. Very good. Thank you very much. Thanks for your help, engineer, and it was always my pleasure coming to Von Radio, and I'm out of here now. Thank you very much. God bless.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
You're listening to Von Radio.